Just a quick reminder, if anyone wants to sign up to speak, we have a sign-up sheet up there. If anyone wants to speak to House Bill 51 and House Bill 402. All right. It's that time. We're about 3:59. I'm going to give it a couple minutes. People are running to and from committee hearings right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've got 4 o'clock. Welcome to the House Education Policy Subcommittee. I have asked Representative Ballard if you would open us up in a quick word of prayer.
Bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for allowing us to be together today. Please help us to show wisdom and discernment to do your will as we work for the people of Georgia. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Another little fun tradition I like to do. If you were a teacher, a former teacher, an educator, would you please stand and be recognized? There you go. Yeah, all right. Thank you. I am going to give my seat up momentarily to Vice Chair Brent Cox while I go down front and testify on House Bill 402. Thank you, sir.
So I've been waiting on this moment. In honor of Chairman Irwin, I now have a great opportunity to honor you. We would like to welcome Madam Chairlady, Scott Hilton, to present this. Is that good? Is that good, Chairman Irwin? I mean, really. Okay. Go ahead.
Here, do I need to? There we go. Yeah, he's still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Don't get in that seat too long. I'll be reading from House Bill 402. This is LC 491290. This is a subject that's near and dear to my heart, and I think a lot of us. For me, just personally, most of my district is fronted by the Chattahoochee River, and it seems just about every weekend we read a sad case of someone who both adult and child, who's fallen in and unfortunately drowned. Here in Georgia, we are ranked number 20 in the United States in terms of fatal drowning. In 2021, or since 2017, we've had close to a couple hundred children die of drowning here with a pretty high fatality rate. And so one of the concepts or ideas that was brought to me by Chairman Dubnik and others was, let's get to these kids and educate them early, and their parents around water safety and learning how to swim. There's a number of resources out there that are available, and we would love for the schools to help publish that. And so the bill is a fairly simple bill here that you've got in front of you. It reads about 23 lines, but the crux of it essentially says that at the beginning of the school year, the schools will provide either digitally or hard copy information on water safety courses, swimming lessons that are nearby. This is not, I want to reiterate, the schools having to provide any kind of swimming lessons or anything like that. It's purely informational. We'd like the schools to provide information to parents just around what resources are available in the community for your kids to learn how to swim. This is one of the more preventable types of deaths that I can think of if we just get resources in the hands of parents and families and teach kids to swim there. So I'm going to pause my comments for a second. I'd like, if okay, Mr. Chairman, I've got a fantastic advocate next to me, Mrs. McGovern, and she would like to speak to the bill if now's the appropriate time.
Yeah, that'll be fine. So we have Casey McGovern with Every Child's a Swimmer. Is that correct? Yeah, if you'd like to speak, that'd be great.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for allowing me to come up and talk about the Every Child a Swimmer program. I am a mother of a drowning victim. 13 years ago, my daughter passed away from a drowning in our backyard pool. She was our third child, and I was a parent that felt like I was that helicopter parent. We purchased the house when I was pregnant for her. We had the pool fence, and she was only 19 months of age, so I thought there was plenty of time for her to get swim lessons and do those things. And I used floaties and thought there was nothing wrong with them. I would take videos of her in the pool thinking that she was swimming. Like I send it to family and friends saying, she's doing so good, she's swimming. And unfortunately, one day on August 3rd, 2009, we spent the day in the pool. And as we got out staggered, I got out first with them, and my husband got out soon after with the other two girls. The gate was left open. And 13 years ago, the self-closing, self-latching gate wasn't a thing, really. It was one of those expenses that really wasn't even talked about or even available. And so with us being home, I went to the grocery store, met her in the living room to put groceries away. And as I'm putting groceries away, my husband called me in the other room to answer a question. When I came back, she wasn't there. So I went throughout my house looking for her, bedroom to bedroom, like we all do. Let me put my eyes on her, but very complacent, not really even thinking about that big pool in my backyard as a hazard. I just wasn't aware, I wasn't educated, I was very naive. And so, needless to say, I proceeded to go outside to our backyard pool, and that was when I saw our daughter floating in our pool. And so she was brought to the hospital on a Monday, and we said goodbye to her on the following Monday. But as I was in the hospital, I learned how big of a problem it was, and that I wasn't alone, and that it happens all too too often. It's the #1 cause of death for children 1 to 4, and that's nationally, and it just continues to be an issue. And so upon leaving her, I made her a promise that I would do everything in my power. So I started working at the health department, running the drowning prevention program there, educating myself as much as I could. Last February, I joined forces with Every Child a Swimmer. We passed a legislation in Florida, and we worked to have it implemented this past school year, which has been a huge success. And what it does is we provide toolkits to the Department of Education to educate them, and just to let them share that resource, share that awareness and that education that parents don't really think about, and it's the supervision, it's the layers of protection and things like that most parents just don't think about. And so that's what we're working really hard with Every Child a Swimmer to do. We also have paired with Learn to Swim scholarship programs, funding over $550,000 in Learn to Swim scholarships to the low-income families. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and if you have any questions.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I don't know, I had impactful testimony, and I want to give you a hug every time I hear that. I want to just close in my comments with there's no cost to the schools. We've got nonprofits like Casey's that step up and provide resources there. But as we think about, all of us here are dedicated to having a safer, a healthier citizenry in Georgia, and I think this legislation moves that needle for us. So with that, I'll open for questions.
And questions you have? Several. We'll start with Representative Glaze.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for bringing the bill. And thank you, Mom, for sharing your story in your life. It means a lot. I'm a mother of 6 and had a pool and still have a big pool in my backyard. And it was important to make sure that they learned to swim early. I'm originally from New Jersey, and so part of our PE requirement in all of our schools, in every school, middle school and above, had a pool, and so you were required to learn to swim. That was a part of state safety. I understand. I think this bill is going to be something that's going to be extremely helpful for Georgia, as we have more lakes than any other state in the South other than Florida. And so kids are going to be safer because of your sacrifice. Thank you both for bringing this.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Representative. Okay, Chairman Irwin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What I'd like to ask is, and you began with where this program has been implemented, obviously Florida being it. Would you briefly describe how long in that implementation of providing this information to the schools?
Casey, I'll let you.
Absolutely. It passed in Florida in 2021, and it was supposed to be mandated to be implemented that next school year, 2022-2023. But as the spring and summer kind of approached, we realized that nothing was really being done. And so what we did was we really started to, which I really started to work really hard to bother the Department of Education and let them see the value in providing this information. And we came to a resolution where they couldn't just provide Every Child a Swimmer as an option, because it would be like they were trying to completely promote us and us only. So what they did was they gave, through the school districts, an email that went to, gave Department of Health as an option, DCF, Department of Children and Family Services, as well as Every Child a Swimmer. And the schools were up to them to just pass on that information, or they could create their own infographic and so forth and be able to share this information. And we have a toolkit that provides them options to do that. And so once we finally came to that solution, they passed it along, and now we've been seeing huge success with all of the schools sending us different information that they've done to incorporate it into their system. We also just recently had it passed in Arkansas. We're just waiting on the governor to sign it, and we're hoping that every other state will just be able to adopt the same legislation, so that it's just consistency through the entire country, and then the resources are available to them as well. I don't know if I answered your question completely, but if not, I'll add more to it.
Yes, ma'am. Talk about other states too. You mentioned Florida. What other states are you approaching, and have you approached?
Mississippi is the only other one right now that there is a drafted bill. But I just started with Every Child a Swimmer in February of last year. And so we're very new to the game and just trying to work it through and starting small, and hopefully each year having 3 to 5 other states adopt the same legislation. So right now, Florida passed it, it's implemented fully. Arkansas saw the need, so they have approved it, and it will be implemented next school year. And Mississippi is through the same stage that you guys are at this point. So that's all we're at right now, but we're only a year into it.
Got you. Well, I'm favorable for the bill, so thank you for bringing it.
No, thank you.
Okay, Representative Evans.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you both for bringing the bill. And I just, it sounds like, this is a new thing, and I'm really grateful for it. And just in listening to it, I want to think about like decal and child care centers having the same type of information too, because for our youngest families.
I agree.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think that we started with the school system K through 12 because it's a big net, and we're hoping that with younger siblings and neighbors and colleagues, it'll be talked about. And so it was easier for us to have this. We can always add to it as the years progress, is what my goal is. So.
Okay, Representative Maynor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for bringing the bill, Representative Hilton, and for sharing. your story. This is a technical question. On line 23, it says that such information shall be provided directly to students 18 years of age and older.
Oh, it's probably a typo.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then the other thing I was thinking about is, have we talked to any of the school systems? I just know many schools in my district are so poor that, one, they definitely don't have a pool in their backyard. And the YMCAs, they're so far that they need transportation, so they don't have transportation to get to the YMCA. And so to require some school systems to do this, if the children don't even have access to a pool, that's just kind of my question. I think it's great to give people information and prevention. I used to work at CDC, so I'm all about prevention, and there's nothing better than prevention. That's just my only thought.
So that's a great, two things I want to address there. The first one, and great catch on line 24, and I'll throw it back to Michael with Ledge Council. Are we reading that correct? Should that read 18 or younger? I assume we are, but.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, yeah, the idea there is that it would be provided to parents up until their children are 18, and then students who have reached the age of majority can be provided the information directly.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. That makes sense.
That's the intent of that.
That makes sense.
Thank you.
Representative Maynard, to answer your second question, so I agree with you. Yeah, schools don't have facilities. Nothing in this bill is requiring them to actually teach the kids. Really, it's as simple as at the beginning of the school year, they send out a one-page PDF flyer or an email of some type. Here are the resources available in your community, and organizations like Ms. McGovern's here will help come alongside them to advertise what resources are available in the community.
Can I add a little bit to the second part, if you don't mind? I completely understand that, and I think that that's a valid concern, and thank you for bringing that question up. But I think the awareness and the education is the first piece, and we understand that there's going to be some that don't want to do swim lessons, and that's okay, or they don't have the opportunity because there isn't a pool nearby. But it only takes 2 inches of water for a drowning to occur. It's silent. So most parents, if they are at a gathering or a pool party or the place, they're not going to know that a drowning is occurring because they go under without even a splash or a yell or anything like that. So just being educated on the risk factors and how it looks like and what it is. It could be a bucket when you're mopping the floor. It could be just, I'm going to go change the laundry really quick, and they're in the bathtub. They're okay. The siblings there. Like just those simple things that are educating them on the risk factors so that the other areas don't happen. And then obviously the swim lessons, we want to make sure we open it up. And I believe that the funding will eventually grow to be able to help in those areas, to transport them to a local pool, to be able to provide that resource. But I think the education and awareness is the key.
One last quick comment to your point. A lot of our communities don't have the resources for private lessons. I think part of this education awareness is to let them know, hey, did you know you can go to your local Y and get free lessons? And I think for our family, maybe we're able to afford private lessons, but a lot of people don't know what's out there available in terms of resources. So what I love about this is a little letter goes out and says, hey, did you know 2 miles down the road you got free swim lessons for your children? I think it's an important educational awareness component.
Thank you for that. I probably should have said in high school, I went through my lifeguard training, and so I was a lifeguard for the City of Atlanta pools as well as a water safety instructor, so definitely know the importance.
Floor Leader Wade.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it. And first, thanks for bringing the bill. And to the mom, just thank you. Taking the tragedy and honoring your daughter's memory. So I've got 2 young kids, so I don't mind telling you I was witnessing my children in that situation, so I feel you. So thank you so much. From a policy perspective, I have just a clarification, and this might be something that Ledge Council can help me with. I see it as clear when I read section B that this is about sharing information and that could be open to each individual school system, potentially using your, I'm glad you're here to help, using your toolkit, right? Or it can be designed like I know in my community we have a park and rec. That is where those free pool lessons can occur for residents of our community, and we even have partnerships where they transport children that need it from the school, like after school they can go get swim lessons. But I don't think we have anything that there's notification of that through our school system to the kids. I think they do it through other means within our community. But I support the idea of sharing information. When I read a term like water safety education, to me that, I think if I'm a parent, I'm hearing that as they are going to educate, right, on water safety. And I don't want there to be the misunderstanding for a parent thinking that the school shall be providing that swim lesson. And I think it's clear in B, but I'm just curious if there's something that could clean that up or just provide in that first section or in a better section. I'm not a lawyer, so that's why we love Michael. He is, and he can help us. Do you think there's something you can do to help clarify that concern or that unintended misinterpretation?
What I would recommend would be inserting a new subsection after line 24 that would read subsection C. Nothing in this code section shall be construed to require public schools or local school systems to 1, provide water safety education courses or swimming lessons to students, or 2, to excuse students from all or part of any school day to attend water safety education courses or swimming lessons.
Okay.
I would also recommend a change in the title at line 5 just to reflect that. It would say on line 5, after to provide for a definition, it would read to provide for construction. And that refers to legal construction, legislative construction.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, Mr. Chair, at the appropriate time, when you want to consider, I would like to consider that as an amendment if the bill, at the appropriate time, if it's for due pass, I think the amendment would be just clarifying. I love the idea, and I hope that we have schools, and I think there are probably some schools that have pools and have swim teams, and they probably provide certain types of training within there. So I definitely want local communities to have that option if they so choose to do. I just don't think we want to inadvertently make smaller rural districts or poor districts feel like, oh my gosh, we've got parents wanting us to teach their kids how to swim. We don't have any capacity to do that. We want to share the resources that are available. And so thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Florida. I think we'd be highly supportive of that amendment.
Okay. Okay, Representative Wilkerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you for bringing the bill. I do like it. I am reading this, I guess, in two parts, lines 16 through 19, which talks about the initial education piece of it. And then to Representative Maynard's point, that's mandatory. I think that needs to be mandatory. I'm good with that. The next part is when it talks about the courses that are available. I think a lot of communities, not just in poor areas, but rural areas, et cetera, will not have those resources available. There's no Y near us. And so I know our kids have always paid for lessons. And even if it's a mile down the street, if you're a working parent, you're not going to be able to walk a mile necessarily. So my preference would be to make that not mandatory, may include, if you'd be open to that, may include information on courses available in the community. So basically the first part's mandatory. You got to be safe. You got to know what to do. And then maybe we add in there may include this additional information. And then if we can't find out the communities are doing it, maybe we do make it law. But I think it'd be tough to mandate that initially with the diversity of the state, both economically and socially, if you would be open to that.
What line were you discussing where you were saying may?
So where I would go is probably, and I'll leave this to the Legislative Council, is after 19, we say such information should be provided in electronic or hard copy format. I might put a period there, and then such information may include options for age-appropriate education course that result in certification, that kind of thing. So what I would do is I would stop there, say it has to be electronic or written, and then say the next part would be not be mandatory, would say may. But yes.
when it was implemented in Florida, it was up to the district to implement it however they choose to or wanted to. The Every Child a Swimmer website has a website where it says swim lessons near you, and you put in your zip code and it populates every possible opportunity that's available. And then we're working with each individual swim school to provide them funding to identify those kids that may need the additional support or funding to be able to do that. And in Florida, because we have a melting pot of different, I guess, more rural, more city, more water, all of these different factors come into play. Our team has worked with each district to provide those specific resources that reflect their community. That makes sense. And so just to provide the Department of Health, the DCF, as well as Every Child a Swimmer, they could just get that information and see, okay, well, it's only 2 inches of water, it's this and this, and all those educational awareness factors. But if they wanted help, then it would show all of those swim schools. So I understand what you're saying, but I think with each school district, it'll be up to them to choose. You just want it written in there, right?
Yeah, and to add on that, yeah, I'm just concerned about it being written in there with a school district for Cobb, for example, that has 110,000 students. When we've done different lessons, we may go to East Cobb or go to the central area. Down in the south part of the county or the western part of the county, you're not going to find a pool that's nearby. And so it just makes it more difficult to get those students there. And that's why I just would, if you're willing to, be open to making that may versus shall.
Yeah, I see where you're going. The shall isn't saying you've got to take them to a pool. It's not prescribing specifically what type of. It is saying at minimum what kind of. It's got to be age appropriate. Swimming lessons that result in a certificate. I'll let it to the committee's discretion to kind of debate that. Procedurally, I think we probably need a motion to pass first before we consider amendments.
Sure. Legislative Council, I question on that verbiage, your thoughts on shall to may.
It is the difference between it being directory and being an option. So if we could, if the amendment were proposed and considered, it could take the form of putting a period after format on line 20 and starting a new sentence that reads such information may include, or it could be streamlined to say after hard copy format and just replace shall with may. So you could take either approach and I think accomplish the same meaning.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Representative Maynor.
Thank you, Chair. For line 17, it says when children are initially enrolled in such school or school system. So that could be if a child was initially enrolled in, let's say, Atlanta Public Schools, and they went to Maryland Elementary. And so then Maryland Elementary gives them the notice, but then they move, and so now they're at Centennial Elementary. Will the school systems know, how will the school systems determine if they are abiding by procedure when you're looking at school system versus school?
Yeah, again, I think the intent of line 17 is at the beginning of the school year is when they're provided, you get that whole packet, the welcome. That's the intention there. I'll defer again to Ledge Council if we need to word that in a more clear way.
And so that would mean at the beginning of every school year, every child would get the packet. But if someone moved from DeKalb County in the middle of the school year to Atlanta Public Schools, they got it from the DeKalb County schools at the beginning of the school year.
Yeah, our intent is that they get it one time. Yeah.
And then just one other thing, one good thing that would come from this that probably is unintended is if someone in one district, so in my school district, I have schools in the bottom 10% of Georgia, and then I have schools in the top 10% of Georgia. And it will clearly show that if someone did one area and another area, you're going to end up seeing the disproportionate impact of recreational swimming in poor communities. And that will just be another statistic that people fighting for those individuals with no opportunities will have. So that's the unexpected great data point that will occur.
Okay, floor leader Wade.
All right, I'm going to pretend that I am a aspiring ledge council member here. All right, just kidding. I'm going to get Michael to clarify, and if the bill sponsor is amenable. So I would like, if you're friendly, the first amendment that we discussed, if you're good with that. I think on line 16, beginning in the 2023 to 2024 school year, somewhere in there insert annually each public school or local school system shall provide. If that's however, to just succinctly say annually. And then for your consideration, Mr. Wilkerson, Representative Wilkerson, on line 20, in my mind, I could read this as say, or hard copy format and shall include available options as one solution, or it could just continue to say, or hard copy format and may include available options. I think that we are putting in statute that they are going to receive information, right? So I like the term shall include, because you want to give the options for the age-appropriate water safety education, but include whatever in that community is available. Now, may and shall can be very, divisive at times. I don't think that's the case in this legislation, but I would love Ledge Council's opinion on if shall include available options meets your concern, or if it needs to say may. And then again, put in there something in line 16 or whatever legislative council deems would be necessary for annually to meet the intent of the sponsor. That's all I've got.
Thank you.
We would be amenable to those changes. I think hopefully it satisfies. I do like the and shall include all available options. Yeah. I think you're live.
Representative Jones, did you have? You didn't? Okay.
So I think maybe some of the concern is that it's hard for school districts to know what's in the community and compile that list. Does your group help the schools in an area find the resources and compile the list?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that will take a little bit of the burden off the schools.
Well, we want to see it. I'm sorry if I'm out of line. We want to see it implemented, and that was one of the things where we were so excited it passed. And then as a mom and wanting to get this done, we saw, oh my gosh, nobody's working to get it implemented. And so we worked with the Department of Education to find a solution and worked with each district to be able to find what works for them. And we're willing to do that with Georgia and every other state that adopts the same legislation. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
It's okay. Okay, Representative.
So I guess I shouldn't be speaking for DOE, so I'm not sure if DOE has a concern about the may versus shall, because like I said, the concern is there. I'm not going to get in the middle of this, but if the community doesn't have it, saying something's 30 miles away is not really giving an option to those families. So I would just be curious if DOE has any concerns about doing this for 180 school systems, or do you have the capacity to do that for 180 school systems. So.
I don't see.
I don't know if that was a question. Yeah, we haven't received any.
Representative Jones, would you?
Thank you, Representative Cox. Representative Wilkinson, to address your issue, is there a way that we could say on line 20, shall include, our hard copy format, and shall include options, comma, if available within the district, comma, for age appropriate, etc. At that point, then, it's not up to us to define, like I live in Forsyth County, south to north Forsyth is probably 30 miles. If someone wants to drive that 30, then, I don't want to tell them not to, but at least they know within my district, or our district, they know what the options are. Same thing in Cobb, sir. So I would offer that again, a comma after options, if available within the district, and then comma for age appropriate. And obviously, Leg Council needs to work on that, because I don't know if district's an appropriate thing to put and how it's defined.
I think procedurally, I don't want to tell the chair how to do his job. I think we need a motion to pass
we do.
first.
No, we do.
Okay.
We have some, yeah, no, you don't really. Okay, I have one more question or comment.
I'm so sorry. I would just say, if we use anything, please don't use district, because our districts are shaped so crazy. So that wouldn't really make any logistical sense. I mean, I'm open to the idea of it, but yeah, or if you, maybe school district. Okay. That's all right. Our house district's there. That's what I'm thinking. Okay.
Okay, so we've done a great job gathering data. I have one thing I would like to say to you personally, and what was your daughter's name?
Edna Mae McGovern.
And like Representative Wade, so sorry for that loss. I would like to ask if this could work, that we name this in honor of her daughter, because I think that the legacy that you're doing is really important. And we value where you are, and you're changing lives by doing what you're doing, and you keep fighting for this. And I think as a group, very bipartisan group here, we support you, okay? So if,
Even if it's one life.
I don't know how y'all would like to layer that in. I'm a rookie, so. Okay. Okay.
At the appropriate time, Chair.
Okay, all right. I'm going to entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to pass.
Okay. Any further discussions?
I would like to make a motion to have the friendly amendment that we've been discussing, and I know Ledge Council is feverishly working on that. And that would to include the areas to make sure that we understand this is about notifying, sharing information, not specifically providing the services, reference annual, make the changes that Chairman or Jones did, and also to include, I think, the very appropriate step to honor your daughter and name the bill after her.
These are multiple amendments.
I can, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to read one enormous amendment.
I would love for you to do that. That'd be great. Do you want to come up to a microphone? Because you may be here a minute.
And I beg your pardon, I did not hear your motion to include
It's Edna Mae McGovern,
spelled
EDNA MAE McGovern,
MC,
capital GOVERN. And thank you so much for such an honor.
lowercase c, capital G. 15.
Okay.
On line 3, after local school systems 2, insert the word annually. At the end of line 3, remove the word upon. At the beginning of line 4, remove the words initial enrollment. On line 5, after to provide for a definition, semicolon, insert to provide for construction, semicolon, to provide for a short title, semicolon. After line 7, insert section 1, this act shall be known and may be cited as the Edna Mae McGovern Act. Line 8, replace section 1 with section 2. Line 16 on page 2. Replace beginning in the 2023-2024 school year with at the beginning of each school year. On line 17, strike through, delete the word initially. On line 20, this is my recommendation, and if I may, Mr. Chairman, the challenge with this particular part of the amendment, this act covers public schools and local school systems. This is language that we've adopted recently to try and incorporate not only our traditional school systems, but also our charter schools that are also public schools. And we use different terms to describe their attendance zones versus the local school system boundaries. So it would be difficult to provide language that could address that really tightly on the fly, but I do have this language to suggest, and that would be that on line 20, we would put a period after hard copy format. We would then have the next sentence read, such information shall include options, comma, if available in the vicinity of the public school or local school system, comma, for age-appropriate water safety education. On line 23, in response to Representative Mainer's comments, I actually would welcome the opportunity to correct a grammatical mistake our office made, and that is that it should read, students who are 18 years of age or older, not and older. So we would insert between students and 18 who are, and we would replace and at the end of line 23 with or. And then inserting after line 24, the new subsection, nothing in this code section shall be construed to require public schools or local school systems to 1, provide water safety education courses or swimming lessons to students, semicolon, or 2, to excuse students from all or part of any school day to attend water safety education courses or swimming lessons. That's it.
You sure? Thank you. Thank you. On the fly. That's fantastic. Okay, we have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
I would just ask the committee, if I may, and Ledge Council, on line 16, by removing beginning in the 2023-2024 school year, does that kind of take away our intent of saying, you've got to start this, and then
The law will become effective upon the
time?
governor's
Yeah,
signature
yeah.
or July 1st, so it would not become effective before the beginning of the 23-24 school year anyway.
Yeah.
And so by saying each year, it will apply to the upcoming school year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. We need to vote on it. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, amendment has passed. And now, yeah. Okay, now we have a motion for the full bill as amended. We have a second. Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay. I think we have passed this. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, I want to thank Madam Chair Cox for his great handling of that real simple bill. With that, if we'd have Chairman Perkle please come to this table, and he will present to us House Bill 51. I'm reading from LC 491286S.
That's what I'm reading from as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I walked into an education committee and found myself in judiciary. Wow, that was an amendment. very little has changed from the last time we looked at this bill. So just as a reminder, this is to provide flexibility for school systems and transportation of students. So we have, I think we had established, and I talked to the previous author of the bill this weekend, Representative Timothy Barr, the previous legislation that provided for transportation of kids and students in something other than a school bus for two related activities, the IEPs and for the homeless students. This bill simply opens it up to allow school systems the flexibility and the transport of students. The only other adds are 6 words, and school-related activities. So, and you'll find those on lines 30 and 40 and 41. So it is flexibility for school systems. Mr. Chair. That was it. I mean, do you want me to expound more?
Short and sweet. I love it. No, that's perfect. At this time, I will open it up for any questions for the author of the bill. I'll hand it off to my vice chairman here, Mr. Cox.
Hey, thanks. We've discussed this, and I appreciate this bill. Question as it relates to the local school systems and the buses and the drivers and insurance and all those pieces.
Yeah.
I really want to make sure that we're taking care of the schools with similar fashion. How do you see these vehicles being managed insurance-wise, drivers, history, and those pieces?
So the insurance piece there again will be local school system. They must have insurance. So some of the rules and regulations that are promulgated by the State Board of Education, which are minimum standards, the driver must be 21 years of age or older. Physical exam 60 days prior to the school year. They must verify that they are properly licensed. They shall complete an annual Georgia Department of Education annual training on safe driving practices. So there's a whole list of things that they do that the state board will provide as a minimum standard. You know, the local school system can say, every kid that's transported, we're going to put them in a football helmet. But anything they do beyond what the minimum standards are is based on the local school system. So it honestly, it is that flexibility they want. And I've talked to school systems all over the state. I've not found one that did not like this bill or love this bill. Atlanta Public School System. I've talked in myriad ones in my neck of the woods in South Georgia that are all very favorable for this bill. And that's what our school systems do, is establish good practices in their buses and transportation of kids.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll go to Representative Glaze down front to your left.
Chairman, I know you've spoken to me about the annotated code that might give us information about parents being notified if kids are not on a school bus. Is there a possibility that be added in the bill somewhere, that according to that particular area in the annotated code, that parents would get notification if they were not using the normal school buses?
I would prefer that not be in the code. I spoke with some at the state school board, and they also felt like it would be best handled on the local level, which is what we do now. So none of our school buses right now require or school systems require cameras on, but most of them do. So it's not a state mandate. This is part of what our local systems want in flexibility in transporting kids.
So I just agree with this bill, and I like it. I think it's going to really help and save.
Thank you.
But I also am a proponent for a parent being notified if there's anything that is not the norm. This wouldn't be the norm. This is something that's new, and so just for liability purposes, just having parents notified and saying that your child is now being involved in this sport or that, and that we may or may not use buses, but other transportation. It might be something as simple as that inside of their student handbook or something like that, that gives notifications. Most school systems have a student handbook. Maybe if it's there, it just covers everybody.
And
if that was something that you thought was friendly.
And I agree, but there again, the state school board doesn't require that I understand a school handbook, and so I think it's up to the local school system. I really want this to be flexible, to allow our superintendents that we entrust in the care of our kids. I really want flexibility is my preference. So,
Thank you, Jim.
yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got two questions to my right. I think I saw 26 come up first.
Yes, that's me. Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On this bill, let's talk, let me ask you a couple of questions to this. What activities do you see using this bill the most in a school, and what type of vehicle do you see them using the most?
So I honestly don't know what type of vehicle that I anticipate. There are standards there again that the state board has instituted. For instance, for the type of vehicle, it would be between not less than a 5-person and not more than an 8-person vehicle. It must have less than 10 years of age, no more than 200,000 miles, must be inspected by a qualified mechanic at a minimum of 90-day intervals. They must have signage. I think we talked about signage at the last meeting. So there must be signage on the vehicle. So, but at what type of event? So we had FFA Day at the Capitol this week. I hope you all were able to talk to your FFA kids. They're wonderful. I saw, and I used this opportunity because, you know, I got this bill. And I got a bill, I don't know if you know about it. There were several school systems had 2 students that they drove up here on a bus. So perhaps FFA Day at the Capitol. If you have a small group of students, that would be, I would think, certainly a category that would fit with this bill.
Got you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll go to number 25 to my right.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it. I appreciate you bringing back the bill. Former school board member, so I really like the fact that we will have the opportunity to have this type of flexibility. I was over here thinking of lots of cases that I had parents contact us about the fact that we were using an expensive school bus to transport certain numbers of students that were within that 5 to 8 range.
You can't blame the state.
No, yeah, that's right. Now you can blame your local board member, potentially, if this bill were to pass. To acknowledge her concern and let her know, I think my experience within local schools, this will be adopted locally if they decide to. It's a May, so they will be required through their board approval process to share those policies within their public meetings. So there will be an awareness requirement that's already throughout code when there are changes like this, if they're going to adopt something locally. And there's also the opportunity for any time a parent has a concern. I know as a parent, every year we discuss transportation options, whether we're going to have, grandparents pick it up, child ride a bus, transfer to a different school because of, siblings, all those things. There's a transportation plan in place. Parents are completely involved in that piece. And that's also reiterated through if it's through a club, a sport, or organization. So I think the chances of parents being unaware of a specific use of a vehicle is going to be rare. And don't forget, parents have the right and option to always ask questions. And we established more of those processes with the Parent Bill of Rights last year. So I think the gentlelady's concern is heard. I don't think that there's going to be a school system that's going to do this without, in their normal course of business, I know our school boards in the state and superintendents, they're going to ensure that parents are notified if they're going to make a change to going from traditional buses to traditional buses plus other options. I just don't see that process will not be open and transparent to the public. So, but I wanted you to hear that from me as a former school board member. I'm certain the superintendent could probably echo that. I don't want to speak for him, but Chair, I think that would just clarify so that she understands that I don't think codifying is necessary, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Floor Leader. We'll go to my left, Representative Maynard.
Thank you. I was just going to give a example and a point of privilege. So in my district of Atlanta Public Schools, my daughter's high school are the state debate champions, and all schools don't necessarily have all different kind of teams. So the schools that have teams that other schools don't have within their district, so Midtown High School, their teams may travel all the way to Cobb County and participate against a private school in Cobb County. And so there could be, if it's a team of seniors and everyone is driving except there's a 10th grader, that one 10th grader has to ride on a school bus all the way to the event because a parent doesn't have permission and another child doesn't have permission to transport the other child to the facility.
Thank you. Can I respond slightly to that? I'm not sure where her daughter got the talent for such but debate skills, but I don't know. But one of the things, so just as a side, one of the things to address your concerns about what the minimum standards are, some of the ones that I actually did not call out that I think are pretty important, and I just want to let you know that our state board has been looking at these. The local board shall ensure a motor vehicle record check is annually completed for each driver of this. They must be placed in a drug and alcohol testing program, which I think is pretty important. That would be both a standard and a random selected pool, fingerprinting and criminal background checks. And so in the protection of our kids, I just wanted to make sure that I did acknowledge that these are the rules and regs that have been promulgated. So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Without that, I don't see any other questions on the board. I will entertain a motion if there's a desire from the committee. Number 25, D. Sebastian, here second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of do pass, say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
thank you.
Yep, thank you.